We've got to talk about volleyball. I know we don't talk about it as much. Part of that is because I'm not super knowledgeable in volleyball. It's hard for me. But we got someone who really knows his volleyball. Utah State volleyball head coach Rob Neilson. Thank you so much for coming on the show and taking some time with us.
Absolutely. And anybody who needs to learn volleyball, you're welcome to come down to the Estes. We can teach you all you need to know.
Can I come to one of those camps that you do?
Yeah, anytime. Let's go.
Get a bunch of high school girls that are actually really good at it, and then you got me, and they're like jumping around looking like an idiot.
Fish out of water, maybe.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically.
Sometimes a big target. Yes.
Sometimes I play with a group of friends, and it's like, if I can get the ball over the net, then it doesn't matter how I did it.
It's not easy keeping that balloon off the floor. So
yeah, I kick it as often as I hit it sometimes. But that's because I played soccer, so I'm almost better at that.
Well, Coach, when we spoke to you last year at about this time, the preseason Mountain West poll had recently come out, and you seemed a little not surprised by the ranking because Utah State was preseason number one. You seemed to kind of set that, maybe tamp expectations a little bit because you said you had a very young roster. But in spite of all that, you guys still had a really solid season. How many of those younger players are back, and how much is this team continuing to grow and staying near the top or even at the top of the Mountain
2
West?
years ago, we had obviously had a great season. We had so many great players that had graduated and moved on. We had 11 true freshmen last year, and we were picked to finish right near the top of the conference. And so when that came out in the preseason, it was, surprising, but the talent that we had brought in were very talented players. And so kind of my mantra last year was, man, you better catch us early because we're going to be good late. And, we had some hard knocks through the preseason and had a lot of things to learn, but had a great run through conference season. We ended up finishing second. We played for the conference championship in the last match of the season. With 11 freshmen on the team, we lost to a team at Colorado State that won the championship, but played with 7 seniors on the team, and we pushed them to the limit. And so I think this is a really special group. We have them back every day. We've just started training last week, and every day as coaches, we turn and look at each other and just kind of remind each other, where we were last year at this time and what we could talk about, and now where we can be in terms of reading the game, strategies that we can put in, things that we can implement with this group. We're just much further along, and they're still just as talented. They've worked through a lot of things. Physically, they're stronger, and so we're really optimistic about what we can do this year.
Yeah, because you're returning. When I was doing the math on like the players who returned, who were playing, I think it was each of your top 5 players in sets played, 7 of the top 10. You had 4 All Mountain West selections. You returned 2 of them. One of whom I think was an honorable mention as a freshman.
Yeah.
So you lost a couple of good players, obviously Adna, and I suddenly forget the other girl's name. You had 2.
Adna Mehmetovic and Kelsey Watson graduated for us, and phenomenal players. Adna. At every recruiting event that I was at, a coach would come up to me and say, "Man, I'm just happy we don't have to play Adna anymore." What they don't know is that we now have Lauren Helgeson, who we had as good as Adna was, we almost had a hard time keeping Lauren off the court. If you look back, we played Purdue, who was a top 10 team all year. Lauren, as this true freshman, came into that match and hit over 600, with double-digit kills. Just a phenomenal match, kind of showing her potential. And she has been the best player in our gym so far this fall, and just does things that wow everybody, and our fans are going to really love watching her. So, lost some great players, but we feel like we have the players to step in and fill those shoes and even maybe move us forward.
Yeah, and another one of your top players, Tierney, am I saying that?
Tierney Barlow.
She was another All Mountain West selection last year, expecting big things from her as well, where I guess by recognition she's your top returning player, but obviously you've already mentioned you've got some other top ones, but talk about Tierney in her role. Yeah,
Tierney's been phenomenal. She was the freshman of the year 3 years ago at Wyoming, was all conference in her sophomore year at Wyoming, and then transferred to us and was the best middle blocker in the league last year. We expect that to continue. She's as good as it gets, hitting the slide, which is that's set behind the setter where the middle goes off of one. It's one of the more I don't know, just artistic sets. It's one of the more beautiful things that kind of happen on a volleyball court is just watching her go hammer that ball from behind the setter off of 1 foot. And she's as good as it gets. And so she's, hungry. She wants to pursue volleyball after college. And so she's pushing hard, working hard. She's been a phenomenal player in our gym and will continue to be this year.
How many of your players go do some things internationally or play stuff in your off season or doing things with other teams before you get them back again?
Yeah, we haven't had too many U.S. players doing that, but we do have 2 foreigners that are doing it. So Mara Stiglic is an outside hitter from Croatia, a big redhead. Everybody maybe remembers her from last year. Really powerful athlete. She played with the Croatian junior national team, and they had a tournament in Bulgaria in early July. So she was playing with them, and then came to us mid-July, so got in maybe a few weeks after the rest of our players had returned and were working together. And then currently we have an outside hitter that played all year for us as well last year, Andrea Simovski from Serbia, and she's playing in the World Championships in Indonesia, the U21 World Championships. And they played their first match last night versus Puerto Rico. She led the team in kills, had a great match, and so we're excited for her to get back. She won't get back to us until the end of next week, and she'll have to hit the ground running. We won't have a lot of time before our first matches.
So how long has training camp been going on? Is just barely getting going? Because your first game's on the 29th.
Correct.
I know soccer kind of just roughly just barely started their training camp, and they're going like next week. So what's kind of the timing for that?
Yeah, volleyball and soccer are crazy like that. We don't get a ton of preseason time together. We only get a couple weeks. We were supposed to start today was the date, but a waiver got granted, and so we started July 31st. So we've already been at it for about a week, and they're working hard. We're pushing hard, and like I said, we're so much further along than where we've been. It's really fun to start implementing some of the nuances of the game as our players really understand the systems and where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do.
You mentioned the schedule. It starts on August 29th. You start in Hawaii. It's always nice to get to the islands a little bit. But run us through you've got some interesting mix of teams on your schedule that are going to look like they could test your team. Tell us a little bit about your scheduling philosophy and what the schedule is actually going to look like for you guys.
Yeah, the thing I tell our recruits is we're going to play the best. You're going to test yourself against the best. We're going to go find the best teams out there. And for us as a solid mid-major program, there's a lot of, big-time programs that want to play against us. And so we get to test ourselves against the best team. We're going to go out and play 3 other phenomenal mid-major teams in Hawaii. We play University of San Diego, who is receiving votes on the first AVCA poll. We play University of Hawaii in Hawaii. And then we play Marquette in Hawaii. This has been one of the top teams in the Big East. And so all 3 of those teams were receiving votes in the top 25. Going to Hawaii, it is nice to go to the islands. I'm just trying to think of how to keep my players from getting sunburned. How do we get them to the match and not have them completely drained from being out on the beaches? But yeah, our group is excited. They're focused. They're ready to rock, and we're trying to get them prepped for 3 really good teams. We come back from Hawaii, and that Thursday, I think it's September 5th or 6th.
September 5th,
Yeah, we play against Texas A&M. Who is going to be a top 10 program. I think they were number 9 in the AVCA coaches poll, and a lot of people are saying they're under. They were voted, should be ahead of that. They return a player that played with the national team on the Volleyball Nations League, which is the big international tournament, played with the women's national team. So their opposite is going to be a stud and a handful, and we get to bring them to the Estes, and Aggie Nation gets to come watch some great volleyball. The day after that, we bring the University of Utah up to us, and they're in the top 20 in the AVCA coaches poll. And so they're going to be a big-time program. After we play those 2 guys, we go on the road to Stanford. Doesn't get any easier. They're going to be a top 10 program. We play a very competitive UC Davis in Palo Alto. And then we come home. We play against UVU on that 4th week on that Tuesday. And then the big one for Aggie Nation to know about is September 18th. We're playing BYU. We're playing them in the Spectrum.
Oh, cool.
The plan is, and our marketing has been that we want to set the state of Utah women's volleyball attendance record. It's been held by BYU forever. 5,500 fans. It's all they can fit in the Smith Fieldhouse. It was broken last year by University of Utah. They got 5,900 when BYU came and played there. And so our plan is to pack the Spectrum. Can we get 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people in there? I know the herd's going to show up.
Yeah.
Maybe there's nothing that galvanizes, Utah State, Cache Valley fans like trying to stick it to the U and BYU and break their records. So we're hoping that our fans will be really excited and thrilled, and it's going to be a great match on September 18th.
And so I'm looking at your schedule, and it looks like you'll have another game in the Spectrum, too, with Weber State. Yeah,
play Weber State following that. That Saturday we'll round out, and they're always competitive. They're going to win the Big Sky. UVU is going to win the, WAC. They'll be up there. They'll be in the conversation, and so we're playing a lot of really competitive, really great teams.
How would you compare the strength of schedule? Because this is a running theme. Like every year you're playing top teams. You mentioned last year you played Purdue. They were 8th at the time you played them. You played USC, who was top 25 team at the time. I don't know where they finished, but
played at BYU, played at Utah. We don't mess around.
Well, how would you compare? Because you list off a lot of these guys, several in the top 10 again. Some of them that are your top 10 or top 20 that you're bringing into the Estes. I remember you brought UCLA into the Estes a few years back, beat them, and they're the number 12 team at the time. This is a running team, but how would you compare this year to other years where you've had really tough schedules and other years as well?
Yeah, this is as good as it gets. Especially, we've played some top teams, some top 25 teams, and those are in here with Stanfords and BYU's and Utah's and Texas A&M's. But also the quality of mid-major teams that we're playing. Every single one of them are going to be near the top of their conferences and really good competitive programs. And so it's going to test us, and that's really what we want. We're going to take our licks. We're going to be exposed in certain ways, and we're going to figure out how to get better. The goal for us is to win a Mountain West championship. We think we have the group that can do it. And so, we want to learn lessons early. And, you mentioned some upsets that we've had, some big time wins that we've had. We got to give ourselves a few chances to pull off some upsets, maybe to make something really special happen. And so we're excited to pursue that. This is the group to do it with.
Again, we're talking to Rob Neilson. He is the head coach for the Utah State women's volleyball program. Their season getting underway later this month. Practices already underway. And the addition of Grand Canyon as kind of an immediate addition to conference schedule, how did that throw you off? Because we've been talking about scheduling. How did that affect what you guys had in mind, or what kind of program are they for women's volleyball?
They're a very good volleyball program. They've done a great job traditionally. They've gotten a lot of great recruits. So they'll be a strong program, and I expect them to be in the top half of the Mountain West as they come in. How that unfolded from the conference, I thought, me personally thought it was, a little unfortunate and, some tough timing, and, it had been in rumor for a few months. And I thought, man, we could have done a lot to really prepare for it if that was kind of the plan all along. A lot of, the teams that are leaving for the Pac-12 have been kind of shut out of a lot of those conversations and have been on the other side of some things. So, I didn't love the decision. I thought the conference did a good job, however, in terms of adjusting the schedule where they didn't just scrap the whole thing. It only changed a couple dates for us. It's legwork that our staff has been doing for months in terms of arranging travel and hotels and all the things that could have been upset by it. And so, it wasn't as terrible as maybe I first expected it to be. And then adding them to the conference, I think, is going to be a net benefit for the quality of play, for the strength of our entire conference. The Mountain West is full of parity anyways. I think there's a 6-team conference tournament that happens at the end of the year. 10 of the teams into the last week of season last year were competing for one of those 6 spots.
Wow.
And, that's how it is every year. And it makes the volleyball special and meaningful throughout the entire year. It's a really competitive league from top to bottom, and they'll certainly add to that.
There's one interesting with Grand Canyon, I believe, is I think they cut their men's volleyball program, if I remember. Now, you're a few years removed from being in the men's volleyball scene. I don't know if you remember going up against them? Because I think you were an assistant at BYU. I don't know if you ran into Grand Canyon, their men's volleyball program, which was pretty good by all accounts.
Yeah, I had been, I left BYU in 2015, which is about the time they were kind of getting going and getting good. But I was with the national team for 4 years, and so watching, their All-Americans kind of come up and play great volleyball. The premier volleyball conference is the Mountain West, and they won the Mountain West a couple of years ago. I don't know another sport where you have Grand Canyon competing with the likes of USC and UCLA and BYU and Penn State and Ohio State. They were doing it in men's volleyball, and they were nationally relevant. And so to me, that was a travesty that they cut that program. But it is part of the dynamics of, where will Olympic sports be as we enter this kind of revenue sharing model and more resources. Instead of football creating resources that are spread across all other sports, they're creating resources that are now going to, pay players. Yeah. And it's a different dynamic. And so it creates a different deal for especially, some of those smaller men's sports that are trying to grow and make it. And I hope men's volleyball continues to grow, because it is a phenomenal sport for anyone that's, watched boys high school volleyball the last couple of years, that it's been a sanctioned sport in the state. It's fun. It's fast. Those guys are athletic. The ball's flying fast at you.
Yeah.
It's an aggressive sport. So, yeah, we're hoping for the best for men's volley.
And I know it's growing in Utah. Actually, you got boys volleyball just getting started here, and had some good programs here in the Valley, at least in year one. I kind of missed out on following year two.
Yeah, volleyball is such a cool sport because, it's just, you have these athletes that are jumping, 30, 40 inches. Our athletes maybe in the women's side are jumping 30 plus inches, and you have men's athletes that are jumping 40 inches. If you're on a basketball court, what are the two things they always talk about? Man, an alley-oop this is such a highlight play. Men's volleyball and women's volleyball is throwing alley-oops to each other every single play. We're jumping as hard as we can and hitting that ball as hard as we can. And the other thing they always talk about in basketball games are those hustle plays, right? You get your 6'8" guy diving on the floor for a ball and everybody's applauding him. That happens every other play. Some 6'8" guy is lying out trying to go after a ball. Same with the women in our gym. And so just the spectrum of athleticism, from the highest of heights to, scrapping and clawing and diving on the floor. You get to see it all on a volleyball court. And I think it's a really special sport, and it's really fun to watch it gain momentum in the States, women's volleyball and men's volleyball.
I was going to ask you about recruiting and finding players for your roster. Just going over your list, there's a lot of players that are short drive from here, where the other places throughout the state of Utah, or even just a few hours north of us in Idaho. Just being able to recruit and have such good amount of talent that's really close to where you are in proximity.
Yeah, the quality of volleyball. Volleyball is maybe a top 10. The state of Utah is probably a top 10 state in terms of the number of volleyball players that are coming out. It's doing a great job in terms of developing players. Club V especially is one of the top clubs they're out of Salt Lake, and they're the home of the professional team in Salt Lake. And so there's just a lot of talent, and we've had to work hard to change the narrative about our program. But I think that we've done a good job, and we offer the opportunity to compete for championships. Obviously, going into the Pac-12, I think, is going to move the needle for us. And, man, you get a chance to play against the best, and you get a chance to be in Cache Valley, which is such a special place. And so we've been able to tell that story, and I think we've found a lot more local athletes that can really play the game in the last couple of years, and it's not changing in the 26 and 27 classes. It's just getting better and better. So we're excited.
I know, speaking of recruits, one of the textures was kind of wanted to ask about if you lost any players to the transfer portal, and then it was also asking about players you brought in. I know there's at least a couple of players that you brought in transfers. I might slaughter this girl's first name, Ava Nakai. Is that how you say it?
Nakai, yeah.
Nakai, and then Kala Cooper or Kayla. Again, I'm slaughtering both their names, but a couple of transfers you brought in. But did you lose anybody to the transfer portal?
Oh, we did. We lost a setter. Really nice player, also a Croatian kid that we had recruited last year. But was in a situation where, she'd gotten beat out, and so was looking for some playing time, and went and pursued other opportunities. She got picked up by the University of Miami, so again, a talented kid, and so lost her. But I think that we have the pieces in place. We haven't lost anyone that really, really contributed for us, and so that's been great. And I think I credit, obviously how special Utah State is, how special our fans are, but certainly our staff does a great job in helping our players feel valued and understand they're getting coached and feel like they're improving. And so I think our players love being here. And then you talked about the additions. We've been able to tell the story, how special this place is, how fun it is to play in front of the herd, what a cool spot this is. And so we've gotten some great players. Nakai had been at Towson and had done a great job, started for them last year, been a big-time contributor, and she's going to come in and add a ton of depth to our gym and certainly have an impact in matches this year. And then Calla Cooper, again, another kid from Utah that wanted to come back home, had been a contributor in her first year at North Dakota. And so we expect her to come in and compete and push our players to get better, and excited to see where she can get to.
Are we going to get a fourth title in 5 years with volleyball?
Who knows how the ball is going to bounce, but that's the plan. They do some internal polling with the coaches as they try and create some parity of scheduling, and try and boost the RPI of the teams that are expected to finish as the top teams. And the coaches poll returned, and we were picked as number one, right? And so I think there's a lot of expectations. It'll be interesting. The media poll will come out next week, and that's what we're expecting. Doesn't matter where we are, right? We still got to play the game. But this is a special group, and they're certainly capable of special things. So we're excited to watch it unfold.
I regret not asking this of Manny Martins, but I'll ask it of you. There's a transition at Utah State right now with the athletic director. There's an interim in place, but we know this is a very temporary situation for Sandy Barber. Mm-hmm. She has no intents that this is a permanent opportunity for her. She's here to help kind of find the next person to lead Utah State with athletics. If you had a vote, if you had to say, are there certain things or characteristics that you'd like in the next athletic director at Utah State?
Yeah, I think, there's some challenges in being in Logan in terms of, just there's a unique culture that goes on here. And so do you have people that can understand and operate within that world? We don't have all the resources in the world being part of the Mountain West. And so do you have someone that can come in and empower and put together a dynamic team of people that can operate lean and mean? That's how it's going to have to roll. And so, as I look out at the landscape, man, I feel like you want someone, or you hope for someone that's done it before in some sort of challenging circumstances. Sat in the main chair and answered some of those questions and figured out how to raise money in tough circumstances and figured out how to galvanize and unite a community, figured out how to kind of fit into the culture of where they've been. And so there's some interesting names, as you kind of think, and, certainly won't talk about them here, but, there's some interesting people out there. And I think that we're very optimistic. This is a great time to come to Utah State with what's on the horizon, with the success of the coaches that have been here. You talk about Manny, gymnastics program won a conference championship. Men's basketball has been awesome for years. I think Bronco's going to do great things. There's just a lot of really great things going on. This is a golden age of sports right now at Utah State, and just a lot of great people, great coaches, and great athletes to cheer for. And now with going into the Pac-12, I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth and some exciting things in our future.
Yeah, well, don't sell yourself short, because I think you have the most conference championships of any coach on staff. So
let's go. We're going to keep adding to them. I gotta distance myself from the pack.
Yeah, Manny's catching up to you.
I know, too fast. He's too good.
Well, Coach Rob Neilson, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck for this upcoming season. We'll check in with you and some of your athletes again as we get rolling. The season starts later this month, so it's go time.
Yeah, excited to see Aggie Nation out there. Thank you guys for all you do in showcasing our sport and Utah State sports, and go Aggies.